Alright, well, I'm going to start by taking this off of here so I can clean this up. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning and then figure out how to get this motor mount issue fixed we found in the last video. So, see if this comes off. Looks like it does. It's amazing how good this rubber still is. Got a little washer. Looks like there's a bearing down there it rides on. That, and then another washer, maybe not. It seems to be happy down there, so we'll just leave it alone. Okay, so I did find, I think all record players pretty much have some way to do this, but if you bring this over there and press it down, it snaps into place, which this would definitely need. Since this is a portable record player, it needs some way to kind of stabilize things. So we got 2 screws here. Let's flip it over and look at it. Alright, so I think I know what's going on with these guys. So if you look at the gap in between there, it's a little smaller than the width of the wood. I think that one of these is supposed to be on the other side and one to be on this side, so that this bolt, which is one of the things that holds the tray in place for the record player, is sandwiched in between some rubber bushings. So that was just put back together wrong. And I can see under there that on the other side of the wood there's a spring. So a spring would have sat on top of this, and that would have been the shock absorber for this piece right here. And then of course this has these 3 locations, and you can see a little piece of rubber left. So some miniature versions of these little rubber things were in there. So I have some TPU from a while back for my 3D printer, so I figured I'd try to print those. It's pretty old, so I've got it right now in the dehydrator. You may be able to hear it in the back cutting on and off, but in a couple days we'll try to print that, and depending on how that turns out, we may do this too. But these seem like they're alright, and these screws seem to be in there pretty good, so I'm going to see if I can get these out without breaking anything, and then take these 2 out from the other side. We should be able to separate the wood from the record player. So then we can start cleaning, which I think is what I want to do next. Alright, I brought a screwdriver over here, but I can tell just by looking at it that these are kind of stripped. So I'm going to at least start them with some pliers. Try not to scar them up too badly. Yeah, that's gonna work. Alright, well, I'll work on all those and I'll bring you back when I get all the screws out. Okay, we'll set that to the side. So, I already played with a spot right there. You can see that came pretty clean. This obviously was under the metal, so it would be about as clean as it's going to be. So that was with a little bit of alcohol, but I'd rather not use alcohol. Just because it's kind of aggressive, and more use alcohol just in the spots where we need it. So I'm going to see if I can find some Windex and use that to start with. Looking around through my cleaning stuff, I found these disinfectant wipes, so I think I'll use it to start with. I just mostly need to get this dust off, kind of get to a starting point. So yeah, it's just dust mostly. I mean, it comes right off. Maybe cigarette smoke or something. Yeah, that's coming off alright. Well, I'll keep working on that and bring you back. Alright, but just after wiping that down, that's a lot better. So I got a toothbrush. I'm going to use this all-purpose cleaner. See, like here, it looks like it's clean on top and it's just dirty down in the vinyl pattern or the leather pattern. And I'm thinking maybe this will get down in there, clean them out a little better. Yeah, that's way cleaner than that. Okay, let me do that to the whole thing. Okay, so I've gone over the whole thing quickly, and I'm just going to leave it like it is now. I think all the imperfections are pretty much covered by the record player. In fact, I'm sure that's what caused them, just from rubbing on it. Yeah, I don't want to cause any more harm. I just wanted to kind of clean it. So this was the color that was a lot wider because it was hidden by the record player, and here's where you could see a lot of discoloration. It's just barely more yellow now. So it's really close. I'm going to leave it. If I did anything else, I don't think I'd recover it. I think I'd maybe get some vinyl dye or some fabric dye or something and spray it, but this looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave it like it is for now. So let's move on to the box, the main case. So here's the case. I think it's in really good shape. There's one little spot right there where it's been nicked. You can tell it's really dirty. I've actually kind of wiped a spot right here a few days ago, and it's a lot bluer than the rest of it. But it looks like something was sitting on here at some point, and it's left paint behind or something, so I'm hoping that'll come off. There's a lot of speckles back here on the back. Hoping they'll come off too. But I'm going to kind of go through the same process. I'm going to wipe it down with these wipes just to kind of get the loose dirt off of it, and then we'll see where we're at. Also, if you look on the front, it's just dirty. Well, I did a spot right here. I don't know if you can see, it's a lot cleaner there. I don't know if this is going to come off with this. I used alcohol there. We may have to use alcohol or something more aggressive on this. But like I said, I'm going to wipe it down with these real good, and we'll see where we're at. Alright, so quick update. I went over everything with the wipes. It didn't really do much. So I went to the all-purpose cleaner and the toothbrush, and I've done this entire section right here. And I don't know how well it shows up on the video, but this is very clean looking. It's not sticky anymore, and it is much bluer than the rest of the case. And also right here is where I'd originally done that alcohol wipe, and you can't see it anymore. So it looks like the all-purpose cleaner is working as well as alcohol. It probably has alcohol in it, but and then down here, that spot that I had cleaned before was right here, and then I cleaned this whole section with the all-purpose cleaner and the toothbrush, and it's come just as clean. You can't even see where the original one was. So I think this is working well. It doesn't look like it's damaging anything. So I'm going to just continue with that until it's done. Okay, I hope that's showing up okay. So I've gone over the whole thing, and it looks a lot better. It looks a little blotchy here just because the cloth's a little wet. But once that dries, it should be fine. There's a few spots that still have a little bit of stuff, but I think it's mostly cleaned up. So the stuff that was coming off, this is pretty clean compared to the other ones, but it's just it's dirt, or it could be some kind of a, I don't know if it's some cigarette smoke. It kind of had an odor to it, but it came off pretty easily with the all-purpose cleaner and the toothbrush. So yeah, I think that step's done. We got that piece, and we've got this piece. Did the inside too, and I vacuumed it out. That all came pretty clean, so I think that's gonna look nice. I did take a picture on one of the sides or the back or something when I had it halfway done, just to kind of see a comparison, so I'll put that on the screen. I don't know how well it shows up, but it was a huge difference. I mean, it went from basically yellow to that color. So everything's consistent now. There's no more blotching. All the speckles and paint pretty much came off the top, so it looks really nice. This stuff on the knobs is very stubborn. I had to switch to isopropyl alcohol for that. But look at the difference. It's like a different color. It's awesome. So I've pretty much cleaned everything up. I just kind of used the same method through the whole thing. So I'm looking at this motor, and here's some pieces. It fell off. So it looks like it was just a grommet, you know, like one of these. But of all the sizes I have, this is the only one that has the right size hole in it. But it's a little too small for that hole. So if we were to put it in there, I believe the other issue is that it's not tall enough. Because there is a washer, but I think it'd need to be at least a 1/16 of an inch or so taller than that. So judging by these, it's really hard to say. Maybe kind of stack them in there and see what that looks like. I don't know if we're missing the half that was taller or if they were both the same size. If I put a little one of those down there, kind of set it down, put another one on top. What does that bring us to for height? Yeah, that's probably about right actually. So I put a washer on there. That would probably get us there. So that's probably what we're looking for. So that'd be more like one of these, but just with the smaller hole in the middle. So I think I'm going to go by the hardware store tomorrow and see if they have something like that. And if not, then we'll try to 3D print one out of TPU. Okay, so I got some grommets from the hardware store. These actually seem like they're pretty close to the original. The diameter is about the same. I think that's probably about the thickness of that metal. The hole in the middle I would think should be a little smaller, but it's just barely bigger than this one. So I also bought these nylon spacers. They're not the right size, but I think I could drill the hole out in the middle and use them if I needed to take up a little slot. But I'm just going to stick these on like they are for now and see what happens. Yeah, and if that still doesn't work, then like I said, I got some TPU. We'll try to 3D print something. But I'd rather use some grommets. I think they'd last longer. Well, it fits in there good. I don't know, it's a little loose. I feel like it needs to be one size larger than that with one size smaller hole. Alright, well that's in there. And it's still pretty loose. I don't think they're tall enough either. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Let's see what this, see how far this nylon spacer is from working. I think the hole needs to be drilled out in the middle. Yeah. But it does fit in there right. But there's still a lot of slop. So we'll might go with that if we can't get anything else to work, but I don't think that's ideal. So I think let's see. So if I were to put there's already one washer that goes on top of one of these before the clip. So if I were to put two of them, that would at least stop it from going up and down, but it would still have some kind of motion moving around. If I were to put this, machine this down to where it fills in that gap right there, then that would take a lot of it out. So I'm not sure on that. Maybe a TPU should be about ready if it's going to work. I've been dehydrating it for 24 hours. It's probably 3 or 4 years old, so I'm not sure how that's going to go. But maybe tomorrow I'll model something up and we'll print it, and we can see if that's an option too. Okay, so here's my first attempt at printing in TPU. I'm not super happy with how flexible it is. I remember this from before when I bought it. It's not a super flexible plastic or rubber, but let's see how it fits. It's a little loose. That's pretty good. Maybe the looseness of the fit will make up for the lack of flexibility in the plastic. And then put the piece on top. There, so that makes our grommet. And it fits on the post good. So if I get a washer, yeah, that brings it to the right height. So I'll print 2 more of those and we'll put it together, see how it works. I don't know if it'll be flexible enough, but at least it'll hold it in place so the record player will work. So I'll be back in a minute with the other 2. Alright, 30 minutes later and we have 2 more sets. So let's put this together. Alright, so that's all in. It's really tight. I don't know if it's rubbery enough. At least it's not flopping around, so it should operate now. Alright, let's flip it over. The wheel is pushing against the side now. Of course, it's not going to work until we get the amplifier hooked back up. Alright. Okay, well that part's back together, so we can set that to the side, and capacitor should be in a couple of days. We'll recap the amplifier and put it all back together. I think everything's cleaned up and ready to go. Got all the parts organized. So see you in a few days. So here's the speaker. I put some super glue on it and put a little bit of actually cotton from a Q-tip into it and let it dry, and it filled in the hole. I think it's good. It discolored the paper, but of course it's hidden, so that doesn't really matter. But hopefully that'll at least structurally prevent it from getting worse. So yeah, that was my fix for that. So I'm looking at this capacitor package on the side. I'd like to take it out, but it looks like the way it's made, it's riveted in 2 places, and I can't get the capacitor. I tried to slide it a little bit, and you see it kind of tore the paper, which I don't want to do. I don't want to take them out because I don't have a way to re-rivet them. I have a pop rivet machine, but that wouldn't look very good. I think what I'm going to try to do is maybe bend the metal, and maybe it was loose, and they just pressed down right there, you know, like that to tighten it. So I'm gonna say maybe we can do that. So I'm hoping if I kind of twist it and pull out at the same time, it'll loosen this ring a little bit. Yeah, I think that's pretty loose. Okay, so I'm going to cut these wires here. I'm going to use new wires, and by leaving the wires connected, it'll be easy to see where they go when we put the new ones in. Hopefully this will come out now. Really don't want to mess the writing or anything up. I think it's coming now. There we go. Okay. I messed it up a little bit, but that's not bad. Alright, so I'm going to do the David Tipton method and try to get the guts out of here and then put the new capacitors in, and assuming they fit, I may 3D print a little bracket to hold it all together and then put some hot glue or epoxy or something on the bottom to try to make it look pretty original. So as soon as capacitors come in, we'll do that. So I noticed the capacitor was a little bit cracked around here. I started kind of messing with it a little bit and hit it with the torch, and it's kind of falling apart. I have to figure out some way to get the guts out of it. But it'd be nice if it just kind of crumbled apart. I don't know if that's like wax. Alright, so a few days later, capacitors came in. So that's them. Still chipping away at this. I did go and drill a hole down the center of it. But just been kind of chipping away. It's kind of making a mess. You see all the stuff right there. But I think I finally have it. So it seems like it's kind of twisting in there now. There we go. Did mess it up a little bit, but it's not bad. So there's part of the capacitor. Alright, so this capacitor under here was a 0.047 600 volt, and the one I got to replace it, it's a film capacitor. It's 0.047 and 630 volts, so that's pretty close. On here, let's see, we've got a 30 microfarad 150 volts, and I've got a 33 microfarad 160 volts. We've got a 60 microfarad 150 volts, and I've got a 62 microfarad 160 volts. Well, that's 150, that's 160. I've got a, it says 20 microfarad 25 volts, and I got a 22 microfarad 25 volts. So those should all be really close. And here I have a 1N5404. I believe that's a 2 amp diode, so I'm going to use that to replace the selenium diode. And yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna solder some leads onto these capacitors, get them glued in here, probably just hot glue them in, and replace this cap, and I think we'll be ready to put this thing back together. Alright, so I've got the capacitors, I've hot glued them together and added the wires to match what it says on here. So I 3D printed this piece right here, and the idea with it is I can stick the wires through here, red one's a little tight, I might need to And make that hole a little bigger. But anyway, I can stick those through there. Then I can hot glue this in there and that'll cap it off. And we're going to drill bit through there real quick. Alright, so just be able to bring all these up like that. And then I can put some glue on here and some glue around there. Stick it in there. And that'll be my capacitor. Alright, so I just got the recapping done. So the capacitor's mounted on there. That looks pretty good. I put grommets here and here. There was wires going through, you know, just metal holes. And I imagine maybe it had grommets at one point and they fell apart. But put those in there. It's actually, I should probably put one right there too, so I'll do that. And there's the 47 nanofarad capacitor. And yeah, all the wires are hooked up. And I made the executive decision to leave the selenium diode in there for now, mainly because I don't really have a solder point. So this resistor right here, one side of it soldered to one of the posts on the vacuum tube, but the other post is completely supported by a selenium diode, and then the other side of the selenium diode has 3 wires going to it. So I would need something to solder the wires onto to kind of secure them in place. Something like one of these little solder brackets would be ideal. There is one post available, but that one's grounded, so I can't use that one. So I don't have any of those, but maybe I'll acquire some in the future. If I ever have a problem with this, I'll probably just take the selenium diode out and use that mounting hole to put one of these in there. Then I'll have a point where I can solder the diode in, or maybe I'll just drill a hole and rivet a new one in. But anyways, that's all together. So I'm going to put a grommet on here real quick. I think I could probably go ahead and put the wires through the grommet since this hole in here is pretty big. Yeah, that worked out. It's not really the right size, but it's better than not having anything. And it hasn't had it forever. This one right there too. I'm going to leave that one alone. But at least they're mostly done. Well, I'll put one in there too. I'll split it and then I'll stick it in there. So I'll take care of that. And then what's left? Are we done? I think we just have to put it back together. So yeah, let me get this together and we'll start putting it back together. Alright, so first up's the speaker. Here's our repair. So it looks good. Actually says CY8 on there, which is what that transformer said, where I thought it said BAD, but that's a lot clearer. Put that in place. And so here's the amplifier, and there was a bottom plate that was sitting in there. Don't think it has any screws. I think it's supposed to be bent in a little bit. And then it just, or maybe it was out. Yeah, maybe out a little bit. And then which way does this go? There's this cut out here, but I'm not really sure what it's for. I think if you turn it the other way, it won't hit that little tab right there, so it must go this way. So that slips into that little notch up there, and that slips into that one. And maybe it went under it. There. I don't know if that's right, but it looks like it's been under it because it's scratched up. So we'll go with that. So that's held onto the front by these two nuts, and then of course the knobs. If I can get those started. We get a ratchet. And tighten those down. That's pretty good. And these don't have any kind of marking on them, so we can just stick them on anywhere. And that looks pretty nice. I don't know if you remember how dirty those were. Be interesting to see how if the amplifier is any louder now that we have the new capacitors in there. And solder these speaker wires on. Okay, so we have to mount the turntable to this wooden piece here. And I wasn't really sure, how the bushings or whatever went. And I was thinking that maybe it was supposed to be where one went on one side of here and one went on the other side, and they sandwiched between the wood, but it doesn't actually fit into that hole right there. The grommet's too big. So I think maybe the way it was right, and they were just using two of these to get the right spacing, because the springs were completely compressed because these two other screws that screw in from the top are all the way down. And I think you're supposed to do that when you transport it, just to keep it from bouncing around. So yeah, I think put it back together, and instead of tightening these two down from the top, leave them loose and see if we have some springiness. So the way it was just had two of those together like that, and it was screwed in like that, and it pretty much bottoms out there, so it does give you the springiness. So maybe that was right. Haven't found any pictures on the internet or anything, so if anybody knows, if you've seen it before, leave me a comment. I guess if this doesn't work, it'll be kind of obvious, and then go back and try something different. But this is the way it was before, so this is the way I'm putting it back. I think it probably needs Loctite too, but I'm not going to put any on for now. If it falls apart, it's not that big a deal. Just screw it back together. But anyways, that's what we're going to go with for now. So let me tighten those up. Alright, so those three screws are tight, and you can see it's loose up here. It can bounce, so like I said, I think, I'm not sure where the other two screws are. They're on the table somewhere, but I think they were for locking this down for transportation, and it was locked down when I got it, so that was probably correct. So I need to solder these wires on the bottom. I need to look at which one of these is ground, but I believe the yellow one goes on the left and the gray one goes on the right. So I'll confirm that and solder those. Just I cleaned the tube up a little bit, can put it back in. Pins look really clean on it. The socket seems real secure. So we're down to these wires. So these were held together with wire nuts, so I'll just put them back on there like they were. Alright, well that's everything. Might put a pull tie around these. Just kind of keep them all together down here. I was kind of bundling them all together, but that's the audio input, so I don't want to bundle that with the power wires. Okay. That's all back in place. Yeah, it's good and springy. That's probably right. Okay, so we've got a bearing. And the actual table, or whatever you call it. Okay, so it's sitting on the drive wheel, so let's push that in. Okay, well that's together. Got a couple covers and mounting screws, but I think it's together enough to operate. So we'll put our 78 back on there, little LC, and see if it works, see if it sounds any different. I don't know if I have any 45 or 33s that are mono. This has a mono cartridge in it. It is one thing I might change. I'm not going to now, but I may buy a stereo cartridge so that I can play my stereo records without damaging them. Of course, I'll have to wire it as mono because this is mono amplifier, but that would allow me to play a lot more things, and then I could of course still play the 78 mono records on with the stereo cartridge. But that's not for today. So right now we'll stick with my mono 78s. Okay, so I'm set up, plugged into the dim bulb. I won't put the 60 back in there just in case I wired something wrong. That way it won't do any damage, hopefully. So put the variac on. I don't have any meters or anything, but we'll just start bringing it up and watch the bulb. I guess before we bring it up, I need to cut this on. So the bulb's starting to light up. We're at 88 volts. In a little bit. The mechanism was jammed or something. There we go. There's no telling what state I had it set in. Alright, I guess this needs to be in there. Okay, so anyway, let's see. Maybe we'll go to the other side. Let's say over the stars there is rest. I obviously don't really know how the mechanism's supposed to work anyway. It's the first time I've kind of seen one. Cut that on. Oh wow, don't have the let's do that again. Alright, so I didn't have the needle set. It was in the no needle sticking down position. Alright, so let's go again. So I cut that on. Bulb lights up and goes dim. We see the filament coming on. And I guess I have to push that one time. Yes, that's pretty loud. It's full volume. Yeah, I don't think it was getting that loud before. I guess everything's wired right. It looks good. Change the speed. Definitely slows it down. 33 is working now. That wasn't working before. Seems like the mechanism's working now. And we put a couple records on there. I have 3 records that were over 100 years old, so let's put all 3 of them on and see how the mechanism works. Alright, so we'll move Elsie back up. And then we've got Irvin Berlin, the Freedom Train, and that's a one-sided record, so that's cool. So add that on there. I don't even know if you're supposed to do this with 78s. Mario Chamley, Parted. I'll do that. Move this in. Okay. So cut that on. Nothing happens. Move y'all up so y'all can see. Then we hit reject. I dropped 2 of them, so that's not very good.
Not the Atchison Topeka.
Not that train. Not Chattanooga choo-choo.
Not that train. Nor the one that leaves at midnight. Not that train. For the state of Alabama. Oh, this song is a train song where the engine.
Alright, I'm gonna move the needle to the end of the song. Let's see what happens. It gets really loud now. So that works. Yeah, that works pretty good. It doesn't start at the right spot. I don't know if that's something that needs to be adjusted or whatever, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. It sounds really good. It gets loud. Let me turn it up. I don't know if auto volume will make it where you can't tell, but definitely gets louder and I'd want to listen to it. So anyway, it's good so far. Let's put it back together. Finish putting it back together. Alright, everything's screwed down and covers back on it. I did mention that I might put a stereo needle in there. Of course, there is one other part to it. The tracking force is probably far too high in here, which means the weight on the needle on the record will be too great. So probably have to figure out how to reduce that also. I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense. It's just be cool to play my other records also. So it's something I'm going to look into. I don't have these 2 screws right here in there. I've misplaced them, but I'm sure they will show up as soon as I clean up my desk. But anyway, that's together. It's really clean now. I hope it shows up on camera how much cleaner it came. So it looks much better. It's not sticky anymore. I mean, it looks really good. It was in good shape to start with, and after cleaning it, it looks really great. Everything works. Of course, we did see that the mechanism, whenever the arm goes and starts playing on the record, it doesn't exactly start at the beginning. I'm probably not going to use that feature, but I'm going to run it for a while and see how it does. I did not replace the grease. All the grease was still grease, so I kind of left it alone, but should probably clean all those moving parts off and re-grease them. And also, I don't know if there's an adjustment in there for where that needle starts, but it kind of looks like it just kind of slings over and drops, so it may just not be that accurate anyway. But I also need to make sure you're even supposed to do that with 78s, because I don't even know if that's a thing. But I've only seen it with 33s. I mean with 45s. But anyways, I think I'm going to end this here. Looks really good. It's good enough where I can play with it. I'm not worried about it shorting or anything like that. Yeah, and real happy with the results. So if you have any suggestions or anything, let me know. There may be another part to this if I decide to do the stereo needle, but for the most part, I think pretty much just gonna leave it like it is. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. All right, so I did find the screws. They're in there now. They're loose. Just kind of fingered, not even touching the platform, but so those are in there now. And one other thing, didn't mention the handle. It's broken. I don't see a good way to put a handle in there without taking these brackets off, and I don't really want to tackle that right now. I also don't really know how to make a handle at the moment, so I'm going to work on that. That might be a future video, but for now I'm just going to leave that like it is. So anyway, there's the record player. So that record I said was one-sided. Turns out it's not one-sided. It was just so dirty on the back it looked like it didn't have any grooves. And check out what's on it.